So does anybody remember back in the Chapter 2, Volume 8 review I had about how I was saying that this Grimm Hound was actually based off of Venom? Well, it's clearly obvious because that's exactly what they did. More unoriginality from the writers of RWBY. And not only that, but he was a silver-eyed warrior. And how does the cast respond to it? Oh, they don't. And now he's dead. All the potential is just gone. And yet again, the Grimm take a big L. Yep. I don't think anyone's surprised at this. Hey, what is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a wonderful and fantastic day today, and if not, hopefully you all will have it better tomorrow. Well, here we go again. RWBY Volume 8, Chapter 8. Boy, oh boy, were there so many problems with this chapter. It was so bad. But, you know, it's RWBY. I'm not surprised. I mean, they tried to talk like this was supposed to be a horrifying, suspense-filled chapter. Yeah, no, it wasn't. it wasn't. And if anything, there's a lot of wasted potential here. I mean, a lot of it. It's not just the Grimm Hound, and you'll see what I mean. We're going to get into this whole thing. And, you know, I can tell you right now, the shells are probably just eating this up. They're probably just sitting over here saying that, oh, 10 out of 10 masterpiece. It's stunning and brave. You know, that's probably what they're doing right now. Probably what they're doing right now. Wouldn't be surprised, because that's typically what they do. And think of it is that this chapter presents a problem that has existed within RWBY for the longest amount of time and continues to exist, which we're also going to get into that. So let's get into this entire chapter. So let's start it off. So obviously, first off, you have Nora, who's clearly starting to wake up from being unconscious. You have them just pulling Penny in there, and, you know, funny thing is that while they're looking her over, yeah, well, you know, they can't fix her because apparently they need a mechanic to fix her because you know, they can't seem to fix an oil leakage. But, you know, that plays a big factor into the plot of this chapter because Penny's juices getting all over everybody has a big role to play there. So, also, when all the electricity goes out, did anybody notice candles? Yeah, that's right. Apparently, candles that have flames are lit up by electricity. What? What? And then Whitley comes up with an idea to have the Schnee company cargo ships to try to help everybody escape. And think about that as, well, while Whitley has the right idea, I'll give him that, you know, thinking of the other people. Well, the thing is that you look at Mantle, you look at how they love to destroy their own city, and how they love to attack their own military in Atlas. Well, the people of Mantle, you know, screw them, they can all die, who cares? They're terrible people for destroying their own city, as well as they need Atlas to be able to keep their heat up. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, where's safety at that point? Like, what is safety? And then you have everybody splitting up, Ruby and Blake going to turn on the power, and my god, this moment is absolutely insufferable, and let me explain why. So first, you have Blake and Ruby going to turn on the power, and of course, they succeed, but while this is going on, while they're turning on the power, making sure that it works, right? Well, oh god, this moment from Blake. Blake starts to talk about, you know, her past, herself, you know, what she'd been through, and how she looked up to RWBY as a leader and how good of a leader she is. This is terrible because instead of actually bringing up the points of why RWBY's a good leader, or what it is that she did that makes her look up to her, well, she just brings up that, yeah, I had this happen and that happened, but she doesn't say what happened. Just like a Twitter conversation. It was really bad. I mean, RWBY at that point could have just, you know, taken whatever Blake was saying, because, like I said, she was just like, this happened and that happened, and you're such a good leader. RWBY could have just sat there and thought, well, I did good with my terrorism in Atlas and destroying the country. Because that's exactly what she did. And she's probably thinking that she made the right call, which is absolutely insane, because these characters are all villains. I mean, they really are. See, here's the thing. Everybody knows that I hate Yang and Blake with a passion. I hate both their characters. But the thing is that the conversation that they had back in Volume 2, there's a reason why it actually works, as opposed to what Blake is doing here with RWBY. It works with Yang, and let me explain why. Because Yang actually brings up her own past to try to relate and understand Blake. You know, tries to have this, you know, heart-to-heart understanding moment with one another. That's why that works. That's why that scene is so much better than what this one is, because, like I said, Yang is bringing up something that Blake could possibly relate to. Blake, when talking to RWBY here, which they never had a conversation solo, just the two of them before this, well, Blake doesn't bring up anything that RWBY could relate or understand. I mean, just a fill in the blank, and oh look, that's what it must be. It's a really bad conversation. And then, of course, the electricity comes back on. Then you have Weiss and Whitley. Yet again, while I will say, I do like the Schnees in this chapter. Well, when I mean Schnees, I mean Whitley and Willow. Thing is that Weiss, yet again, does something I do not like. Where Whitley, he's being himself, and Weiss is just like, we need to work on your attitude. Thing is that Whitley didn't do anything wrong. Yet again, he hasn't done anything wrong, and the Weiss is over here, like, constantly treating him bad. No apology, by the way. Weiss hasn't apologized to Whitley at all for sticking a blade in his face. I'm just saying. And, she wants him to conform. Like every other character, that if you're good, you have to conform to their ways. Like NPC mindset. It's ridiculous. Nobody can think for themselves, apparently. Unless you're the bad guys, then you can think for yourself. And then the Grimm Hound, aka Bargain Bin Venom, comes in, and he is searching for something, and that something turns out to actually be Penny, and he then just attacks, and what happens is that Blake decides, hey look, let's charge him, because nothing bad ever happened when anybody ever charged Bargain Bin Venom. Oh, wait a minute, that's right. Yeah, nothing bad ever happened, right? All right, Yang got beat, and then Rin tried the same thing right after she did. He got slammed into a wall. Yeah, nothing bad ever happened there. It's like everybody's got the same charge tactic, and it fails. But then, what happens? The Grimm Hound just goes and mounts RWBY, because RWBY thinks that she has to rely upon her Deus Ex Machina to save her. I mean, my dear God, we'll get into that in just a moment. But also, there is the, Grim Centipede that comes out of the ground. And, the one thing I noticed in that animation shot, it comes out of the ground. It looks like a, anthill. But if you notice, there's no cracks within the ground, because it comes from the ground. You would think there'd be cracks in the stone, right? None. So that I noticed. And this fight between Blake and the Grim Centipede, yeah, it's not good. Like, this fight is just so bad. It's starting to really ring a bell back to the times of Volume 5, because this feels like the animation was just so rushed on this fight. It's like they just were like, oh yeah, do this and that'll make the fight good, but it's really not good at all. And then Blake, she shouts out to RWBY like, I need you, and I'm like, oh, wow, really? While RWBY's unconscious on the ground, you need her. You can't take it on by yourself. It's a Grimm. And Blake also uses her semblance, which I don't know why she didn't even just use that whenever the Grimm Hound grabbed her. I'm just saying. just saying. I guess they thought of using that for suspense. But Blake shouting for RWBY's help during a fight. I mean, yes, teamwork is important. But, it's a Grimm. Grimm are so useless in the series. So a Grimm that is fodder can just easily mollywop Blake, because this is how useless of a character Blake is. I mean, seriously. It's so bad. But, suspense doesn't exist, because everybody knows how Grimm are. If you're a main character, you're not going to die, because, well, unless you're the bad guy, because Grimm are fodder. And RWBY gets up, one slash, the Grimm's dead. Yet again, this is why Grimm are not a threat. And yeah, they're trying to make it a threat here, but this doesn't work. It's also Blake. So what suspense was there? Everybody knew she was going to be safe anyways. They weren't going to kill Blake, and we all knew it. So obviously, this was not a suspenseful moment, and the fight was just bad altogether. I mean, it was just awful. Then Penny wakes up, and this moment is just terrible. Let me explain why. So she wakes up, she's hacked, and she starts using her maiden powers, and then Nora just tells her, to like control herself. And it's like, what? Like, how would Nora's words just be like, yeah, control yourself? And it's like, oh yeah, you'll be fine. Like, are you kidding me? Of course, she just walks off and pushes Klein out of the way, which, man, I gotta feel bad for Klein on that one. Like, he got treated so badly. Like, he gets pushed down twice by Penny. I mean, I feel bad for the guy. I mean, I like Klein, but man, it's just, that scene was just, And poor Klein. And then, because of her using her maiden powers, Penny alerted the attention of the Grimm Hound, aka Bargain Bin Venom. And Bargain Bin Venom looks over in the direction of where the maiden powers went off at, right? Well, what does he do? Does he fly in there and, go after Penny? Or does he do something stupid? Oh, he does something stupid, right? Because he flies in the front window of the house. Like, are you kidding me? Like, he clearly knew where she was, and instead goes into the front window of the manor. Like, oh man, God. Why not just fly all the way up to where Penny was? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then he just starts sniffing around because of her scent. He's trying to get her scent. It's so bad. But let me bring this up as well, okay? So this is another thing that's a big issue, is that with the whole scene with RWBY, okay? So this is pretty bad because this shows you how inconsistent the writers are. Is that when you see RWBY here, right? Okay, so she gets dropped by the Hound, all right? After the Hound finds out about where Penny is. So she falls to the ground and her aura just breaks. After 2 hits, her aura is broken. I'm not even kidding. So, like, you go back to chapter 2 when Oscar was getting brutally beaten, comically, and he's just getting obliterated by the Hound, okay? He has aura that takes more than 2 hits, by the way. And while he's just getting beaten, it takes a few hits, like several, for him to lose his aura. But then you take into comparison that to what just happened with RWBY here, where she gets attacked by the Hound first. Like, he jumps her, which by him jumping her, that immediately damages her aura pretty badly, and she falls unconscious, okay? So her aura doesn't break, but she falls unconscious for a moment, all right? And then you have her get dropped by the Hound, and when she gets dropped by the Hound, her aura breaks. Are you kidding me? Like, how inconsistent are these writers with aura? Like, at this point, what is aura? It's like with Cinder's backstory. Remember, it took 3 hits for the professional huntsman that Cinder was fighting for his aura to break. And then RWBY, it takes 2. Like, what? The inconsistency of aura, the characters, they're just nerfed to all hell, man. It's so bad. The writers are so inconsistent with their writing. They don't even know what they're doing. You can clearly tell. So the Grimm Hound gets to do a fight with Weiss. And I'm not kidding. All she does is shoots projectiles at the Hound. I'm not kidding. That's all she does. You would think that she would try to use time dilation, maybe, to warp herself up with her glyphs that could, help her jump up to stop the Hound from escaping. Yeah, what does she do? Nope, she lets him go. I'm serious. Instead of this fight being able to continue, she lets him go as if nothing mattered. I'm not even kidding. This is how bad it is. Like, it's like, oh, well, the Hound just got away. My mom and my brother are here. Oh, well, I'll meet him again, I guess. I mean, he's got to come through the front door, right? Not like he could break out of a window. Like, it's so bad. And so, Willow, okay, so as I stated, Willow and Whitley are my favorite parts to this entire chapter. And let me explain why they're my favorite parts to this chapter. Because, for one, you see that Willow is struggling because she's an alcoholic. And, addiction is something that is very difficult for many people to even overcome, and some people never do. And showing her struggle to help or to go for her alcohol, I mean, it was an interesting moment. I mean, I'll give them credit on that. But, of course, she picks the better decision, looks at her phone, has her Five Nights at Freddy's camera going on, or Five Nights at Willow's. I'd be okay with that. Finding out that Whitley is in trouble, and I gotta give her credit. I mean, she saves her son. I mean, Willow actually does something. But, I would have preferred her to have a different semblance than that. But, you can definitely tell that it's Willow that actually was the one who saved her son with her semblance. Not only that, but it had to be a Vorpatusk. Like, I mean, couldn't they have other Grimm that they could have, had her be able to summon? I mean, we see that constantly. We saw Weiss also do this back in Volume 4. But Willie makes his escape, and he also activates the orders for the cargo ships to go and save people. So there's that. But, here's another thing that is an animation error that I noticed as well. So when you see Whitley and Willow running through the halls, okay, like, you see that the Hound is gaining on them, right? So I mean, that makes sense. I mean, you would think because it's a hound. Yeah. But, thing is that in the next scene, I'm not kidding, it looks like it's gotten further away from them. Like, it looks like it's at a distance as opposed to where it was. It's really bizarre. And then again, like, look at Whitley, though. Like, the string bean leg. That looks so just... what is going on? Oh, it's so bad. But, like, then the hound, just jumps. And it's like they made this for, like, a suspense reason. Of course, Weiss comes in, saves her mother and her brother. And, here's my question. Why didn't she just use time dilation that she used to have back in Volume 2 and put an ice wall over the door and then fight the hound? Oh, wait, because the writers are inconsistent and they don't remember anything that the characters are capable of doing. I mean, Weiss could do so much, and instead they just choose to just tone her down, and I just don't like it, especially with her personality, how she's been this volume. I mean, like, the character, I have been very, very frustrated with Weiss, and, I would tell you that out of Team RWBY, Weiss is the best girl, but, like, God, it's like the writers want me to hate all the good guys. Like, it's like they try to make you hate the good guys. And yet again, this is one of those moments to where I'm just like, you treat Whitley horrible. I just don't care. And you let the hound just leave. She clearly could have caught up with him. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's for suspense. And I mean, seeing that she could have stopped the Grimm Hound from going forward, fighting him, which could have been interesting at least. Well, no, they just throw that out. I mean, seriously, it's terrible. Like I said, Weiss... oh, man, they have just been doing her dirty. Then again, what character have they not done dirty for years? But at least Whitley and Willow are cool. I'll give them that. At least they did them pretty decently. Now, then Cinder bust into where Watts was. I still question how she knew exactly where he was, considering that she was flying to where the cell must have been. And, just blows down the wall, and now the jailbirds are also free. I absolutely despise Robin Hillary Clinton. And Crow actually turned into a bird for a change. Why didn't he do this a volume ago? See, like, back when they were going to, throw him in prison for killing Clover. Like, what? I don't understand this. So, then you get to Penny, where she's coming in, she's talking about how she's going to basically go to the vault and then destroy herself. Well, you know what? Good riddance, because the character shouldn't have come back. When she died in Volume 3, she should have just stayed dead. I mean, that's really what should have happened. And quite clearly, I just don't care for Penny. And so she gets in a fight with the Grimm Hound, and it was so funny. The Hound just beats her senseless. Like, why didn't she even use her maiden powers? This is another problem. Doesn't even use her maiden powers against the Hound, and the Hound just grabs her by her head and just bam, 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 like Hulk slams her on the ground like a few times and knocks her out. And I'm just like, you could have used your maiden powers. Instead, you tried to go physical brute force against this Grimm Hound. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it's so bad. And then when Penny just gets beat around by the Hound, like, he basically Hulk slams her and knocks her out. Like, to me, I was just like, okay, fine, I don't care. Especially after what you did to Neo, a few chapters back. Yeah, that's fine. Just knock her out. And then, RWBY, Weiss, Blake, they're all there. And that's when the Hound threatens her with his nail to her throat. And I'm like, if this was like a blade, like his arm turned into a blade, that would have been cooler, but no. And then RWBY just has to use the silver eyes because they're so overpowered. And then what happens? Oh, well, Bargain Bin Venom over here just crashes through the window. Oh, God. I am so sick and tired of how these silver eyes it's the go-to now. It's absolutely frustrating. I mean, let's Zebudo for just 1 minute, because we need to go back on something. RWBY used to be somebody who liked to fight. She liked the action, the thrill of combat. That was who her character was, okay? And that's a big thing to look at, because while she was somebody who liked the action, who liked to fight at one point in time, you take that, and then, once she learns about the capabilities of her silver eyes, it's like that becomes the entire importance to her character. Like, the silver eyes, what they should have actually been, for one, they should have had a cost because they don't have a cost. This is a problem, and this is why they're so damn frustrating to see all the time, because it's overused now, because there's no backfire. At least the Sharingan in Naruto had backfire, because you'd go blind if you used the Mangekyo. Like, if you used it too much, you could go blind from it. And then RWBY realizes, oh, well, I can just basically nuke the Grimm, because, who gives a shit? And then just, instead of fighting, it's like now she just uses her silver eyes at every turn that she can. And that's exactly what she did when she first saw the Grimm Hound. When he knocked her out, she was trying to think of good thoughts so that she could activate her silver eyes. I mean, seriously, like the silver eyes, when it was revealed what they were, that was just a terrible thing, because it damaged what the silver eyes were back in Volume 3, like the scene. It damaged that whole entire sequence. And, had it been like a transformation, right, that could have been more effective against Grimm. Now, not meaning that it's like an auto kill, but, you still could have had the Grimm be threatening. You still could have had the Grimm, actually fight back. That would have been something if it had been a transformation. I mean, it could have also been a transformation that could have powered up RWBY and could have helped her out. But no, instead it's just a nuke all to the Grimm, just one of those big, screw yous. It's frustrating. So then the Grimm Hound is revealed to be a Faunus. Okay. Now, there is a severe problem with this. Let me explain what that is. Okay, so while the Grimm Hound is a Faunus, it also goes to show that not only was he a Faunus, but he also was a silver-eyed warrior. Now, I didn't know this from the first take, and I gotta have a shout out here to Darth Kai for noticing that, because I didn't notice that, and I had to go back on it. And, what is RWBY concerned about when she sees this hound revealed as a Faunus? What is her concern? What is the first thought that comes to mind? He's a person. No silver-eyed connection there. No. Just, he's a person. And then he does this whole zombie maneuver. Like, when I say RWBY is not original, this is why. This is what I mean. And so what happens? Willow and Whitley move over the statue and just squash him with it, and he's dead. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. This is what happens to the Hound. Yet again, another major L for the Grimm, because they have to always be just terrible fodder. The potential that there could have been here, well, it's just destroyed. It's squashed along with the Hound when he died. I mean, that's exactly what happened. But what this also does, I'm not even kidding, okay? What this also does in this scene that makes this a complete and total flop is that now RWBY is morally questioning things, because it proves that not everyone can be saved. I'm not even kidding. Like, this is how frustrating this scene actually was. I mean, it is awful, because, for one, RWBY doesn't care about it being a silver-eyed warrior. No. She cares about it being a person. It's funny, because you would think that seeing that this is a silver-eyed warrior, that would be something that's important. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's important to see that, apparently Grimm can also be like zombie material, like, but the thing is that nobody notices this. Nobody notices that this is a silver-eyed warrior. When, it's finally revealed that this is what Salem has been wanting silver-eyed warriors for. At least that's my take on it, because apparently it resonates. The silver eyes resonate with the Grimm. So, thing of it is that if this is how this works, that it can apparently conjure up the dead, well, you would imagine that there'd be something here. And this is a problem with the show, is that the show don't tell rule. This is the problem with that, because they need to show things. And they don't even at least tell you anything here. You had to at least go back. I mean, some people are able to see it right away that it was a silver-eyed warrior. Some people had to have a second take, like myself. But that's all it is. And this is something that also questions RWBY's morality. And here's the problem with that as well, is that when you look at what Ironwood was doing, right? Ironwood, he knows that war will take lives. He knows that people are going to die. That's the important thing that he sees out of it, right? Because he is someone who's experienced on the battlefield. He has been someone who has gone through war. So he knows what's going to happen. I mean, he is the leader of a country. as opposed to Ruby. I mean, who is she? You know, like, whenever she had that broadcast, why would anybody listen to her whenever she has no military experience? She has no experience leading a country, as opposed to Ironwood, who has all of that. And then she tells people to not trust Ironwood when Ironwood knows exactly what he's been doing the whole time. You know what I mean? And, you know, nobody brings up anything also, not just about the Silver Eyes, okay? Since this also puts Ruby's whole morality into check. Here's another problem that presents its ugly head here, is that, yeah, well, Ruby, you've killed people before, you know, and people are probably thinking, wait, when did she kill somebody? Well, remember back when she was on the train back in Volume 2, the White Fang, all those White Fang members that were lost in that tunnel and that died. I mean, they were all buried in there with Grimm. I mean, you have to imagine that they're dead, and that's the thing, you know, about all of them that are there, that they were lost, all those lives that are gone. I mean, yeah, whose actions was that? All right, that was Team RWBY, and at that time, they never took that into question, that that's something that they had to do. So you mean to tell me that now RWBY thinks that she can save everybody when she's the one who also brought terrorism to Atlas, when she's the one who basically helped bring down the country of Atlas, and now they bring that into question. Let's also not forget to mention that it didn't seem to bother Blake and Yang whenever they killed Adam. You know, they didn't seem to put that into question. They didn't seem to think that maybe they could try to save his life. Oh, no. They got to end him. You know, like, that's how they had to do it. They had to treat him with the most disrespect rather than trying to help somebody. And we also can't forget to mention that, you know, like the Silver Eyes, right? With the scene, and what ruins the scene, similar to what ruined Adam's brand. You know, Adam's brand, you know, this is, like I said, the show don't tell rule. The issue is that they should have shown Adam's backstory. People had been requesting for years what was behind Adam's mask. And then, well, they have the brand, and then they just throw that entire thing away like it's not a big deal. I mean, it's terrible. Like, Blake reacts to it, you know, like she's kind of sad, but Yang has no remorse for Adam or what could have happened to him. And in fact, they don't look back on this as if it was a problem that they killed him. Like, they don't care. You know, so this is why this scene fails, because even Blake and Yang didn't feel remorse for killing somebody. And then you have RWBY, who, yeah, you think about the White Fang members back in that tunnel that fell off the train, the ones that got, you know, caved in, buried alive in there. Yeah, well, you know, that's thanks to Team RWBY, by the way. I mean, so, you know, you look at it, yeah, RWBY has already killed people before. So this scene falls flat right on its face the moment that it happens. This is how bad this is. I mean, this is how bad this scene really is. I mean, it is just, it's so terrible. It falls so flat. Like, you know, this is what I mean. This is what I mean by this concept here just does not work. And with the Silver Eyes, where's the reaction? There should have been a reaction to that, and then there's absolutely nothing. So when you look at this chapter as a whole, it's horrible. I mean, it's so bad because there could have been things here that could have been so much better executed. I mean, the big thing here is that the Grimm Hound, which is now dead, you know, the potential that was there, lasted only 8 chapters, and then he's done. That's it. Also, to top that off, was a silver-eyed warrior. And nobody reacts to that, which, funny thing is that, like I said, I had to take a second look at this, because I wouldn't have noticed this had this not been brought up to me. I'm not even kidding. And I typically try to notice a lot of things, but, like, this one was just off until somebody said, hey, look, this was a silver-eyed warrior. Like, it's crazy that the response is that, you know, it's like, oh, well, I guess I shouldn't care. You know, that's nuts. And the way this was executed was very poor. RWBY should also be understanding Ironwood now. Then again, like I said, hasn't stopped her in the past from ending the lives of others, like the Faunus in that tunnel. So, you know, how is that any different from, you know, now where she thinks, oh, I gotta save everybody, when that's clearly not going to work? I mean, seriously, you know, war takes casualties. I mean, you know, and it's a sad thing, but it's true. War itself, I mean, people die, and, you know, it sucks, but that's just how it is. Not everybody can be saved. And to think that RWBY didn't even realize what Ironwood was doing this whole time. I mean, if this is what it takes for her to realize it, then that's pretty damn pathetic. But also, at least Whitley and Willow were something. I mean, props to them. I'll give them credit. I like that. But more inconsistent writing all around because it's RWBY and nobody's shocked. Nobody's shocked at all. And or inconsistency. God, that was so terrible too. I mean, this chapter is just abysmal. But anyways, let me know what you think about this entire chapter down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here, and make sure you are still subscribed because YouTube is unsubscribing people from all their favorite channels. So make sure you are still subscribed to all your favorite channels. Hit the video with a like, and also make sure to share the video on social media. Spread the word and get it out there. It's greatly appreciated, and it really helps out the channel a lot. Also, be sure to follow me on Discord. We have a wonderful community there. Not only that, but it will keep you up to date on when the newest videos will be released, as well as any other upcoming events in the near future. So be sure to follow me on Discord. The link is in the description down below. But anyways, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful and fantastic day today. And remember, if today was not a good day, tomorrow can always be better. Take care of yourselves and everyone around you. And have yourselves a good one out there, everybody.